They walk among the masses, but they are not part of the herd. They move through the same world but operate by a different set of unwritten laws. Their silence is more potent than most men's screams, carrying a weight that bends the very atmosphere of a room. Their power isn't proclaimed from a stage. It is simply felt, an undeniable presence that shifts dynamics without uttering a single command. Welcome to the Sigma male community. If those words resonated deep within your core, a vibration of truth you've always sensed but couldn't articulate, then you have found your tribe. This is not about fleeting trends or the desperate chase for validation that defines the modern man. This is about understanding the fundamental wiring that separates the true outliers, the men who build their own realities while others are content to live in the ones they're given. We will delve into the 11 core distinctions that define this rare breed, not as a list of traits to be mimicked, but as a mirror reflecting the unshakable principles of self-mastery, rational thought, and profound independence. 1. The silent earthquake influence. Most of the world believes that influence is a function of volume. They see leadership as the person with the microphone, the one whose voice booms across the crowd, demanding attention and obedience. The Sigma understands a deeper, more elemental truth. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. His influence is a silent earthquake, a fundamental shift in the ground beneath everyone's feet that is felt long before it is ever understood. He doesn't command respect. He embodies a state of being that makes respect the only logical response. His deliberate actions, his unwavering integrity in the face of compromise, and the sheer force of his focused presence create a gravitational pull. Others don't follow his orders. They unconsciously align themselves with his vector, drawn to the quiet certainty he projects. This is influence at its most primal level, changing the landscape not through loud proclamations, but through the quiet gravity of his unshakable core. This form of impact is not a strategy. It is a byproduct of a life lived with radical intention. The Sigma man is not concerned with appearing influential. His focus is entirely on being effective and true to his own internal code. The ripples he creates are a natural consequence of his disciplined mind and his commitment to a purpose that transcends the need for external applause. While others are busy crafting their public image, he is forging his character in the private fires of self-discipline. He understands that changing the world begins with the absolute mastery of his own. Therefore, the change he catalyzes in his environment, the subtle shifts in team dynamics, the elevation of standards, the quiet death of toxic ideas in his presence, is the only evidence he requires. Recognition is a fleeting shadow. The tangible impact is the only monument he is interested in building. 2. War-picked, not provoked, conflict selectivity. The modern world is a cacophony of meaningless conflict, a constant barrage of petty arguments, digital skirmishes, and ego-driven battles over trivialities. Most men are caught in this storm, their energy scattered like shotgun pellets, wasted on every perceived slight and manufactured outrage. The Sigma, however, views his energy and focus as his most precious resources. He carries a sniper rifle, not a shotgun, and understands the profound art of choosing his battles. He observes the endless sea of meaningless drama from a detached elevation, recognizing it for the energy trap that it is. He conserves his strength, his intellectual firepower, and his emotional capital for the fights that truly matter. The conflicts over principle, the defense of his values, the battles that will fundamentally reshape his reality for the better. When a Sigma finally chooses to engage, it is a sight to behold. His entry into the fray is not a reckless charge but a calculated, decisive strike. The silence and observation that preceded it were not signs of weakness or fear. They were the moments of a predator gathering data, identifying the critical vulnerability in an opposing argument or the fatal flaw in an unjust system. His engagement is marked by a chilling clarity and an economy of motion, using precisely the right amount of force to achieve his objective. There is no wasted emotion, only a focused application of will. This selectivity is what makes his intervention so potent. When he finally speaks, people listen. When he finally acts, things change. He leaves no doubt in anyone's mind that this battle, unlike the countless others, was one worth fighting. 3. Happiness rewired, simple joys. Society has become a relentless marketing machine, screaming from every screen that happiness is a commodity to be purchased. It's in the next phone upgrade, the designer logo on a shirt, the perfectly curated vacation photo, the fleeting dopamine hit of 1,000 likes. The Sigma man has looked at this machine, understood its programming and chosen to unplug from it entirely. He has rewired his own neurology for a more potent, sustainable and authentic form of joy. He laughs at the notion that contentment can be added to a shopping cart because he knows that true satisfaction is not found but forged. It is discovered in the raw, unfiltered texture of reality, far from the noise of the marketplace. His happiness is not a destination, it's a state of deep presence he cultivates daily. This cultivated joy is found in the profound elegance of the simple. It is the intense satisfaction of mastering a difficult passage in a book, the quiet ritual of watching the steam rise from a cup of black coffee in the pre-dawn silence, or the clean, victorious ache in his muscles after pushing his body past its perceived limits. These are not distractions from life, they are deeper immersions into it. The Sigma derives a powerful sense of fulfillment from his own agency, the knowledge that he is the sole architect of these moments. He doesn't need an external event to grant him permission to feel alive. He proves, moment by moment, that happiness isn't a prize to be won, but a frequency to be tuned into, accessible to anyone willing to silence the static and simply be present. 4. The unshakable core anti-conformity. Imagine a Category 5 hurricane, a force of nature that rips trees from the ground and tears buildings apart, slamming with all its fury against the sheer face of a granite mountain. The wind howls, the debris flies, but the mountain remains. This is the perfect metaphor for the Sigma male confronting the relentless pressures of societal conformity. Trends, fads, and the desperate bleeding of peer pressure are the hurricane. He is the mountain. His refusal to bend is not an act of defiance. It is a simple expression of his nature. He does not actively resist the pressure. He is simply on a different plane of existence where it has no purchase. His inner compass, forged in the crucible of self-reflection and hardened by experience, is his only true north. This immunity to the crowd is not born of arrogance, but of a deep, rational understanding of his own path. He has done the difficult internal work of defining his values, principles, and purpose. As a result, the opinions of the masses are rendered irrelevant. They are noise, not data. While others sway with the changing winds of popular opinion, seeking the fragile safety of consensus, the Sigma's path remains carved in bedrock. His no is not a rebellious shout, it is a calm physical law. He has already calculated the trajectory of his life, and the chaotic, temporary whims of the crowd are not a factor in his equation. Conformity is not a temptation he must resist, it is simply an option his operating system does not even recognize. 5. The art of strategic withdrawal, solitude. In a world terrified of silence and terrified of being alone, solitude is often mistaken for the pain of loneliness. For the Sigma, this could not be further from the truth. Solitude is not an absence, it is a presence. It is his sanctuary, his laboratory, and his blacksmith's forge. It is where the raw iron of his thoughts is heated, hammered, and tempered into the steel of conviction. Withdrawing from the relentless static of the social world is not an act of hiding. It is a strategic maneuver to reload, recalibrate, and sharpen his intellectual and spiritual weapons. In the quiet, away from the agendas and projections of others, he can finally hear the signal through the noise. It is where he processes experiences, connects disparate ideas, and formulates the grand strategies for his life. This strategic withdrawal is a vital part of his cycle of effectiveness. He understands that a bow kept constantly strung loses its power. He must periodically retreat to his forge to maintain his edge and clarity. While others are drowning in conversations that go nowhere and social events that drain their life force, the Sigma is in his solitude, consolidating his power. He communes with the great minds of history through books, he wrestles with his own ideas, and he reconnects with his core purpose. He emerges from these periods not just rested, but more potent. He returns to the world not depleted, but armed with a renewed sense of clarity and an unnerving focus that others, lost in the noise, can neither comprehend nor replicate. Feel that? That resonance? It's not an accident you're here watching this on the Sigma Male Community channel. Whether you are this rare breed or you sense its power simmering beneath the surface of your own life, this isn't generic self-help fluff. This is the blueprint for operating differently in a world begging you to be average. Pay attention. This is where the path diverges. 6. Innovation is oxygen, adaptive change. Most of humanity fears change. They cling to the familiar, finding comfort in the well-trodden path and the mantra, because we've always done it this way. This phrase is not a sign of tradition to the Sigma. It is a declaration of war, a battle cry that signals an opportunity for reinvention. Where others see the chaos of uncertainty and the terror of the unknown, the Sigma sees a landscape of pure, uncut potential. He doesn't just adapt to change, he hijacks it. He sees the shifting tides not as a threat to be weathered, but as a force to be harnessed, a wave to be ridden toward a new and better shore. Rules are not immutable laws, they are merely the current system's best guess, a hypothesis waiting to be challenged and improved upon. This drive to innovate is not just a personality quirk, it is the very oxygen his mind breathes. A static environment feels like suffocation to him. He is a natural systems thinker, constantly deconstructing the world around him, looking for inefficiencies and envisioning more elegant solutions. He thrives in the heart of the storm because it is where the old rigid structures break down, creating the raw material for him to build something new. He is the one who, in the middle of a crisis, is not panicking but is calmly redesigning the ship while it's still at sea. This ability to not only survive but to thrive on change makes him an indispensable architect of the future, constantly building the shelters and forging the tools that others, blinded by their fear of the new, didn't even know were possible. 7. Depth over distraction, philosophical lens. For the vast majority, life is a series of tasks to be completed, a checklist of acquisitions and achievements to be ticked off. It's a two-dimensional game of cause and effect. The Sigma, however, views life through a powerful philosophical lens, adding a profound third dimension of meaning to everything he does. He doesn't just live his life, he interrogates it. The question why is the constant driving mantra of his operating system. He is perpetually exploring the deeper currents beneath the surface of daily events, pondering the nature of purpose, the foundations of his own ethics, and the fleeting, precious nature of his time. These are not abstract, academic exercises for him. They are the essential navigational charts he uses to steer his life. This philosophical depth is what infuses his actions with such weight and substance. A career choice is not just about salary, it's a decision about how to invest his finite life energy. A relationship is not just about companionship, it's an alignment of core values and a pact for mutual growth. This constant examination of the why transforms the mundane into the meaningful. It prevents him from sleepwalking through his days, chasing empty goals set by others. While the world is busy skimming the surface, endlessly distracted by the trivial, the Sigma is on a deep-sea dive into the abyss of existence itself. He understands that this is where the real treasures are found, and he consistently returns to the surface with pearls of wisdom that give his life a richness and purpose others can only dream of. 8. The internal arena, self-reference success. Turn off the spotlight. Silence the applause. Tear down the leaderboard. The only competition that has ever truly mattered to the Sigma male takes place in the silent, internal arena of his own mind and spirit. Our society is pathologically obsessed with external validation. Men are taught from birth to measure their worth against others, to scramble up ladders propped against walls that someone else built, to seek the approval of a crowd that is fickle and forgetful. The Sigma has opted out of this game entirely. He understood early on that playing for the approval of others is a form of slavery. Instead, he dedicates himself to the far more difficult and infinitely more rewarding task of earning his own respect. His victories are not measured in trophies, promotions, or social media likes. They are measured in quiet, incremental gains that are invisible to the outside world. Success is the inch of personal growth he achieved today that wasn't there yesterday. It's the ounce of hard-won integrity he maintained when it would have been easier to compromise. It's the quiet, profound satisfaction of keeping a difficult promise he made only to himself. The external world scoreboard is a ghost, a faint echo from a stadium he walked out of years ago. The only judgment that carries any weight is the one he sees reflected in his own eyes at the end of the day. He is his own harshest critic and his own most valuable champion, building a monument not of public acclaim but of private character. 9. The unflappable algorithm, emotional control. An unexpected traffic jam causes road rage. A delayed flight triggers a meltdown. A negative comment online ruins a day. For most people, emotions are knee-jerk reactions, chaotic storms that hijack their rationality and dictate their behavior. The Sigma operates on a completely different internal algorithm. When faced with an external stimulus, his first process is not to feel but to analyze. He runs a cool, efficient diagnostic that sorts events into two simple binary categories: that which is within his control and that which is merely background noise. His precious energy, focus, and emotional bandwidth are allocated only to the first category. The second is observed, acknowledged, and discarded with chilling efficiency. This is not the coldness of indifference. It is the pinnacle of supreme computational focus and a deep understanding of Stoic thought. To waste energy raging against an unchangeable reality, the weather, traffic, the actions of others, is, to his logical mind, a catastrophic system error. It is a pointless drain on resources that could be used to solve actual problems. While others are screaming at the machine, consumed by stress and frustration, the Sigma is calmly assessing his options. Can the code be rewritten? Is there a different path to take? If not, the event is accepted as a new law of physics for that moment, and he adapts his strategy accordingly. Stress is the tax paid by those with poor resource allocation. The Sigma's mind is simply too efficient to pay it. 10. EQ, the invisible arsenal, emotional intelligence. It is a common and grave mistake to interpret the Sigma's self-reliance and emotional composure as a lack of feeling or a disconnect from humanity. In reality, the opposite is true. Beneath that calm, unflappable exterior lies a high-resolution emotional radar, an invisible arsenal that makes him incredibly adept at navigating the complex terrain of human interaction. He has spent so much time in quiet observation, rather than constant talking, that he has learned to read the subtle signals most people miss. He reads the energy of a room like an open book, sensing the shifts in mood and unspoken tensions before a single word is uttered. He doesn't just hear what people say, he understands the intent, the fear, and the desire behind their words. This highly developed emotional intelligence is not used for shallow manipulation or to win popularity contests. It is a tool for strategic insight and genuine connection. It allows him to understand the true motivations of others, to anticipate their reactions, and to communicate his own ideas with surgical precision. It enables him to build a small number of incredibly strong loyal bonds built not on superficial pleasantries, but on a foundation of deep, unspoken comprehension. He knows when to speak and when to remain silent, when to offer counsel and when to simply provide a steadying presence. This empathy, guided by logic, is one of his most powerful and least understood assets. 11. The sovereign self, authentic independence. At his very core, the Sigma male is a sovereign nation-state of one. He engages in diplomacy with the world, he forms strategic alliances, and he values his relationships, but he is never, ever dependent on them for his own sovereignty. His borders are his principles and they are non-negotiable. He welcomes mutually beneficial treaties in the form of healthy relationships and partnerships, but he will dissolve any pact that becomes toxic or compromising to his core identity with swift and decisive action. This is not born of a fear of intimacy, but from a profound commitment to self-ownership. He understands that outsourcing his well-being or validation to another person or group is the fastest path to losing himself. This radical independence is the ultimate source of his freedom. His happiness is internally generated, a product of his mindset and his actions, not a gift from the outside world. His sense of worth is self-validated, forged in the fires of his own challenges and triumphs, not bestowed by the opinions of others. He doesn't need to be invited to the party. He chooses whether or not the party is a worthy investment of his time. This is not arrogance. It is the quiet, unshakable confidence of a man who knows he is complete on his own. The world offers its endless noise, its demands, and its agendas. In response, the Sigma simply broadcasts his own powerful resonant frequency. One can choose to tune in or not. He will be broadcasting regardless. This isn't about being better. It's about being fundamentally different. While 97% of men are chasing the same worn-out scripts, frantically trying to play a role they were given, the Sigma is busy writing his own epic in a language that most people cannot decipher. That rarity, that divergence from the common path? That's not an accident. That is the entire point. If this message resonated with you, if you felt that spark of recognition in your own journey, then your path has led you here for a reason. Don't let this be a single moment of clarity. Make it the beginning of a conscious evolution. Like this video to signal your understanding. Comment below with the point that hit you the hardest. Share your insight with a community of men who speak your language. Share this blueprint with the one man you know who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell, not just to watch videos but to arm yourself for the week ahead. This isn't just a channel, it's an arsenal for the independent mind here at Sigma Male Community. Stay uncommon.